Do now! Wow! Ah! Well, a very good day, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's been a long time. Welcome back to Run Danny Boy, and of course, your host, Danny Boy, right over here. So, yeah, I want to talk about first. I got a chest strap, and I'm going to be using that for our footage going forward when it comes to shoe reviews. So I'm going to be having that, doing the footage. I don't know, I have footage for this shoe. I don't know if I'm going to make a separate video or if I'm going to somehow incorporate it into one video. But this is the chest strap right here. That's what it looks like. Put on the bad boy, do my mileage, test out the shoe, and you can also see what, how the shoe is faring and also any thoughts I might have during that run immediately. So I think it pays off. I think it's pretty awesome. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce our first shoe in a long time. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Bam! Yes, the new Balance Rubix right here. It's a stability shoe, once again, from New Balance. So let's take a look and find out more about this shoe. All right, so as I said before, the Rubix is a stability shoe, so it prevents overpronation. So that is an important factor with this kind of shoe. Also, when it comes to the weight, we're talking for men a 10.7 ounces, and for women's, it's actually 8.9 ounces. Next dog! In terms of the flexibility, you notice that the front half actually has a lot more flexibility than the back half. The back half doesn't have nearly as much. It's a lot stiffer, and I think that part of it is in the extra added material for the stability of the shoe. So I think that is one of the reasons why. But overall, it's pretty flexible. So there's that. And with regards to the heel to toe offset, according to New Balance, it's approximately 8 millimeters. It says that it varies depending on how it's measured, but overall, it's about an 8 millimeter drop. Next off, let's talk a little bit about the outside. So we have right here a slightly beveled heel, so you can see it kind of turns a little bit. Compared to other shoes, it's not that drastic, so I didn't really notice too much when I'm walking, so that's fine. With regards to the overlay, so the overlay is this material right here that's on top, usually used for structural purposes and also for design purposes. This one is a no-sew overlay. So what a no-sew overlay is, of course, it has no sewing, but the important feature with that is that it has no thread around it. So if it doesn't have any thread, it doesn't go inside the shoe with that same thread, and sometimes the threading inside the shoe can irritate the foot. By not having any sewing whatsoever, it eliminates that risk of some type of foot irritation. Hi, Gus. Next dog. With regards to the material, it's a synthetic mesh. So this is the material right here. It allows for breathability as well, so it's a pretty good material. Puppy not included. If you look underneath, come on, Georgette. Let's take a look underneath. If you look underneath, you'll also notice that there are strong sections. You may not be able to see it particularly well. I think on the back here you can. Here you can see that this is a different color than some of the other sections, and that's because this is actually a different material. So this is actually much more firm than this material over here. And here it sounds differently. This is because of the desire to reduce the overpronation. It helps with the motion control of the foot, and because of that, it reduces that overpronation. Small amounts of pronation are perfectly normal, but of course you don't want too much because that can cause injury and pain when it comes to your run. Next dog. So another bit I want to talk about before we go to the inside of the shoe is that because this material is different and its focus is on stability, it is a bit louder. At least personally, my experience with the shoe is it's a bit louder when it strikes. So I can really hear myself running sometimes, and it's mildly annoying at times. It really depends on the surface you're striking against. So that is one thing that I've noticed that I'm not a particular fan of. So going into the inside, if we start with just the overall inside cushioning, I think that it's actually quite plush. If you start from the heel collar and even working your way to the sides, it's actually very padded. And it's pretty nice. And going into the tongue, the tongue is also padded, and on top of that, which I didn't realize at first, this tongue is actually attached. It's not so much a separate tongue. So it has this nice little connective webbing here. So, you know, that's pretty nice. And on top of that, it adds a little extra layer of cushioning on the inside right underneath the overlay. Even if they had some type of thread on the overlay, I don't think you would feel it because of that connective tissue that exists between the tongue and the inside of the shoe. The insole is also, it's somewhat soft. It's not bad at all. So I like that. Now, one of the issues is that it is a detachable insole. Now, it's good and bad. It's good because if you want to have some type of nice cushiony insole, you could easily replace that and that would be all set. However, sometimes when it comes to these types of removable insoles, the insole can slide around in the shoe around your foot, and that can be quite annoying. This shoe has not done that with me personally. You know, that could be runner dependent, how much your feet sweat, what kind of socks you wear, etc., etc. But I haven't really noticed any issues with the inside there. One last thing I'm going to talk about the midsole is that the midsole it's really responsive, but it's also not that forgiving. It's pretty firm, and I think that can be an issue, especially because it's so firm towards the back. I think that could be an issue for heel strike runners because that force is going to go directly to the heel, right up the leg, and there's not too much cushioning. So my concern with that is that it's too firm in the back. In the front, it's not as firm because those stability factors are not in play really there. So it's a little more forgiving towards the front. But that has to do more with the outsole, I think, than the midsole. But it's responsive, but it might not be all that forgiving. My take on the shoe, at first, I honestly didn't like it. I felt that there were some issues with it that really bothered me, but as I kept running with it, as you'll see with my marathon test, the shoe actually grew on me. One thing I noticed is that the toe box seems to kind of have a low ceiling, and what I mean is that although my feet didn't feel like they were squished from the sides, from the top and bottom, I felt there was a little bit too much pressure, and my toes, you know, my pinky side, those end of the smaller toes, they started falling asleep over some distance. So what I had to do was simple. It was a simple fix. What happened? What happened? Don't be scared. It's just a camera. I lost my complete train of thought. Thank you. Thank you very much. Once I changed the lacing, however, that did really help with that. It opened up the spacing, but I still feel like it could be a little bit of a low ceiling in the toe box. Another thing I noticed, I looked at some of the reviews other people did, just like simple comments, not like reviews, like video reviews. But I noticed in a lot of the comments when people had purchased the shoe, one thing that was prevalent was the fact that a good portion, about 25% of the people who replied and gave their own opinion on the shoe, they said that they felt that it was too tight. I would say before you go and purchase a shoe, you might want to try it out, or at the very least, you might need to experiment with some lacing after you get the shoe initially. So they have decent flexibility, but not only the decent flexibility, it does have, you know, stability, but at the cost of being a little loud. Okay, you little quiet, baby. Don't quiet. What? Can I get a lick? No? Nothing? Okay. Bring me the one they call Larry. Now, one thing I'm noticing with the shoe online is that its price is very, it's all over the board. If you go on newbalance.com, you can get the shoe for like $150. However, if you look online, you know, other shoe companies and other places that sell it, Amazon, etc., we're talking as cheap as, I've seen $35. So there is a huge spread between the prices. This is one of those shoes that I would say definitely search around if you have the size in mind and you know the color, you know what you're looking for. Instead of getting it directly from New Balance, I would check online first for a cheaper price, because $150 for these shoes, I don't think it justifies it. So let me go and give you my rating. What do I think about it? My rating for the shoe between this, and this It's actually all across the board. And you're like, what? How's that possible? Well, there's a lot of factors. And those factors kind of determine whether the shoe is for you or not. First, best case scenario. You get the shoe for, cheap. 35, 50 bucks, 75 bucks. You get it on the cheaper side. And you run with the ball of your foot first and not your heel. If you do that, I would say that this shoe is a fantastic shoe. Decent flexibility, it has the stability, it has also, it's responsive. I think that also the outsole is pretty durable, and I think it would last a long time. So I would say for that price, it's a really good shoe. Now, if you are getting it for a higher price, like 150, I would put that lower because I think that there are better shoes out there for that price. If you heel strike, and on top of that, you're paying the full price, honestly, I would give it a thumbs down, okay? So I think part of it is its price. For a good price, it's definitely a good shoe. But the other factor is, where do you land with your foot? If you're landing with the back of your foot, it's gonna hit harder and you might have some problems. If you're landing with the front of your foot, on the other hand, I think that you're not really gonna notice much. Pretty good shoe, got the stability, flexibility, all the other ilities. And yeah, good price. That's I think the big factor. All right, well, that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, once again, my name is Danny Boy. All right, so if you have not liked or subscribed to the channel, please do. That helps us out tremendously. Okay, and don't forget, our music is provided by Jinenji, so just look on the link right there. Click on the link to listen to some more music by Jinenji. Well, that is all she wrote today, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this spider is real. Okay, before I go and pee my pants, until next time, enjoy your run. Take care. Ah! Okay, end the video, please. Do now! Wow! Ah!
Mas a pesquisa até eu chegar no Manicongo partiu do lance de, quando fala do continente africano, falam-se muito da escravidão, né? Mas antes desse período de escravidão, eram civilizações como qualquer outra, que existiam as suas hierarquias, enfim. E dentro desse processo de civilização africana tinha as monarquias também, né? Onde tinha os reis.